Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Untitled Hoops podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about basketball, mainly the NBA, mainly the 76ers, except not much this week because we're eliminated. They're at home on the couch, probably watching the games just like the rest of us. Anyway, I am your host, Sean. Over there is your other host, Marquise. No, like AKA today because we're back on Discord, but we can assume he's still depressed Sixers fan. Um, Yep, there we go. Nod to confirm. So there's only one series going on right now. Obviously, the Nuggets went ahead and swept the Lakers.
Before we get into that,
Go ahead. Go
last
ahead.
episode we did numbers, the best numbers we've
Yes,
done
yes.
on an episode yet, of the best watch time yet. Like everything,
Yep.
we just broke barriers for ourselves in this podcast. So it's good to see that people are watching it, and are watching it in its entirety.
Yeah.
So we love to see that. I think we had like 18 hours of watch time just from that episode alone.
hmm
Um, so we appreciate it. Continue to subscribe. Continue to enjoy the content.
Hit the like button, hit the notification bell so you can get notified whenever we drop anything, even if it's not a podcast. We do have other stuff. Um,
all that
so yeah,
all that good stuff.
we
All that
appreciate
good
it.
stuff. Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Um,
But yeah, there's only one series left.
and this is literally what this podcast is going to be titled. Can the Celtics do the impossible?
No.
You don't believe it.
I don't want them to. It
I
doesn't matter.
don't either.
Doesn't matter if
I don't
doesn't matter if
either.
I believe it or
And
not.
it's
I don't
crazy.
want
It's
them to.
crazy because like when this video um has comes out, is either going to be going into Game 7 or the series is going to be over. So
Yeah,
we can be behind the eight ball. So we're going to look at it from both perspectives, so we can still stay a little bit relevant to the I guess the conversation that will be held tomorrow.
yeah,
Um, Looking at it from the perspectives of just the series and how it's been so far, it just seems like the Miami Heat just wanted it more,
hmm
and they really just did everything to take the Celtics out of their element. And now it seems like the Celtics back against the wall are, I'm not saying playing free because you do have to play with some urgency because this is very embarrassing. To
yeah,
be down 0-3 to a team that's injured, not only a team that you should have beat, a team that's a lower seed, a team that lost the first game of a play-in,
yeah,
but a team that you should beat quite easily, honestly. But they're also injured. They're missing their
hmm
third best player, second best offensive player. Like they're missing key guys. VO's
yeah,
out. You know what I'm saying? But they have gotten contribution from the Gabe Vincents, the Matt Juice. Bam has played better.
yeah.
Kyle Lowry has had his games. Kevin Love has been rebounding well. But like these last
And
two
obviously,
games,
playoff Jimmy is playoff Jimmy.
playoff Jimmy is playoff Jimmy. You don't have to mention him, okay? When your name is playoff Jimmy, you know what I
Yeah,
mean. If that's one of your nicknames, you don't need to be mentioned. This whole series, this whole postseason is named after you for a
yeah.
reason. You know what I mean? You don't have
If
to
Jimmy
mention it.
if Jimmy Butler goes on to win a championship, a lot of people were talking about it, but I want to get your opinion. Would this be the hardest ring in NBA history?
Yes,
Obviously, I think right now
it's
a lot
not.
of people consider Dirks to be up there in 2011, but
No,
uh,
this
I
is the
mean,
hardest championship ever in the history. You're not supposed to win none of the rounds, none of
yeah,
them,
yeah,
by a lot. You were
yeah,
literally, like I said, missed the first play-in game. You lost the first play-in game, which means you had to play a second play-in game, which means if you lost that one, you're out the playoffs completely. So from going from potentially being out the playoffs completely, because that game against the Bulls was a close game,
yeah,
to being one game away from the NBA Finals and potentially competing for a championship, there's no tougher ring than this. You went through Milwaukee, you went to New York, who I thought was going to beat them because New York handled Cleveland Cavaliers at full health, and I'm like, I didn't expect that. I had Cleveland actually winning that series in 6, and they lost it in
Yeah.
5. So I'm thinking the Knicks are going to go on and beat them because I don't believe Jimmy can just give everything he has, and Tyler Hero was injured, so I'm thinking the Knicks probably was going to make it out. Beats the Knicks, literally just dogs them,
Yeah.
like literally, and then goes on with the
Mhm.
Celtics, and it goes on and win 3 straight games. And like for the Heat, even if they like kind of like what the Sixers did, it's kind of like following the Sixers path when we played Toronto when we won the first 3 games and Toronto won 2. It looks bad on us that we let them win those 2.
Yeah.
It doesn't look bad on the Heat. Like the Heat, once again, Heat, you're playing with house money.
Yeah.
If the Celtics come back and win this shit, yeah, it's gonna suck. Yeah, it's gonna be the first time we've ever seen it. Yeah, but like at the same time, you weren't supposed to be in this position in the first place.
Exactly. That's the thing. Like you were never supposed to be here. It's kind of like the Hawks. Like when the Hawks got to the finals, a conference finals, excuse me, after they beat us, and it was like, can the Hawks win the championship? It's like I don't think so. But at the same time, it's like, why are they winning so much? It's like they're playing, like you said, they're playing with house money. You were never supposed to be here in the first place.
And that's
And
like
then
to not tie it to what the Sixers, to the Sixers. That first
yeah,
game against Boston, we were playing with house money with no expectations,
yeah,
and we won the game because they weren't expecting it. They were
yep,
expecting certain things. This is literally what the Heat has been doing this entire time because you're trying to key on one guy, and then here comes Caleb Martin, here comes Gabe Vincent. You know what I'm saying? Guys that you scouted, of course, because it's a playoff series and you're scouting 1 through 15. But you really don't
hmm
think about those guys because you really key focus on Jimmy, taking Bam his passing lanes away. Like you're so focused on that, and Kyle Lowry taking him, running him off the 3 point line, making him work on defense, tiring him out. That you forget about these other guys,
yeah,
and that's what I kind of said. I'm sorry to Eric Spoelstra for in the Miami Heat organization when I said the Knicks were going to beat them, is because you can never underestimate a Miami team because they just have this ability to take somebody who was damn near out the league or
yeah,
for and most teams would have been out the league, never really given the opportunity and turn them into serviceable role players. And
hmm
Caleb Martin's fact, like he's literally probably their second best player right now, with
yeah,
Bam like teetering. Like Caleb Martin, who was released by the Hornets, who suck. He got released by a
yeah,
team that wasn't good to come here and to be the damn near the second best scoring option in the Eastern Conference Finals. It's fucking ridiculous, but that's what the Miami Heat do. They find these guys, like they just find
yeah,
them, they give them confidence, and then they throw them out there. And now they got the confidence flowing and everything, and they could do no wrong. You got Caleb
yep,
Martin up there, like fucking. I think he had one game where he had 6 threes. There was another game where he was defensive monster. Like this bro
yeah,
is like changing personalities each game to adapt to what they need, and is ridiculous. But like Miami's constantly showed you this, like, and I kind of feel stupid as saying they couldn't lose, and then they constantly show you, damn, this is what we're capable of.
yeah. I think the cool thing about Miami is that they don't ask guys to do things that they know that they're not good at doing.
Yeah,
Like they'll never ask you to play like in a way that they know probably isn't your best. They're just like they're gonna purposely pick guys and put guys on the floor that they know are good at specific things that they need at the moment. Like even seeing the way that Duncan Robinson is playing right now, it's like you go back to last year and you think like why he was barely even playing ever. Like in the playoffs, he almost never touched the
bro
floor.
was
But it's
unplayable
just
in a
like
regular season, let alone him
right.
playing in a playoffs game. Like that's crazy.
But it's just like those games we didn't need you. Like we didn't need you at that point. But now it's like, okay, we need shooters, we need spacers. Now it's your time to shine. And it goes back to like that bubble year where he was like amazing, but then ever since then he's kind of like taken a dip. But his production, his ability to shoot hasn't gone away. It's just the Heat got guys, those guys play differently. Duncan maybe doesn't mesh as well with those guys, But now it's like Tyler Hero's out. You got a bunch of role players in. It's like, okay, Duncan, now's your time. Like, come on in, do what you do, and just knock down shots. And it's been great for him. Like,
It's been amazing. Um,
so kudos to the Miami Heat organization. And I'm gonna bring up the Heat and their organization again when we get into our next topic later on. But just know kudos to the Miami Heat organization. We stole from the Heat a little bit last off season, and I would like to do it a little bit again in this coming off season.
a little bit. Um, we also have to say congratulations to the Denver Nuggets.
Yep,
They have made the NBA Finals for the first time in their franchise's history.
yep,
I do have them as the favorites, as many other people have them as the favorites to win the championship, which would be, I think, everybody's on that team's first, except for KCP. Um,
yeah, because he went
KCP.
with the Lakers.
I mean, well, KCP gets his first real ring. His first,
First real ring,
his first real ring,
first ring that won't have Mickey Mouse on it.
and that won't have Mickey Mouse on it. It doesn't,
Yeah,
it has a button on it and it lights up, and it sings you a fucking nursery rhyme. He's about to get a real ring, and I feel this way, because look at Miami, they're missing people, and obviously it has not affected him this far, but the Denver Nuggets has been the team where it's like I see no holes.
yeah,
Like I really see any holes, and if there are any, Mike Malone quickly adjusts and take them
hmm
away. Whereas though Boston Celtics, they have a lot of holes.
yeah,
Miami Heat, they're kind of like it. Kind of feels like the Boston Celtics are sinking. Like there's a hole in their ship, and they're
yeah,
sinking. And it's like Miami's like, okay, we're also sinking, but guess what? We're gonna turn this shit. We turn this boat into a submarine, and we're going down with this
yeah,
shit. And it just seems like Denver Nuggets will overpower them just by chemistry and the ability to play inside out. Whereas though I feel as though Robert Williams is cool and he's a great lob threat, but Jokic can do everything.
yeah. I
And
think the
go ahead.
the Nuggets are definitely the most complete team in the playoffs right now from both a personnel and coaching perspective. I think the Heat right now are lacking a little bit as far as personnel goes, obviously having some key guys who are out due to injury, but they have great coaching and they obviously play really hard. The Celtics is the opposite. They have pretty much all of their personnel. They have a lot of talent. They have the sixth man of the year. But from a coaching perspective, I don't know how much faith I have in Joe Mazzulla as far as like making sure that they are ready to play, making the correct adjustments in a timely manner. Even against us, it took them 6 games to realize, hey, you know what? I should probably put Robert Williams in the starting lineup.
Right.
That might work. Like it took that long,
And it, and
and
and I think what
go ahead,
messes them up, what's been messing them up. I'm gonna let you get back to your point, but I think
go
what's
ahead.
been messing them up is that the Celtics are really built to like double off of a big man or
Yeah,
somebody who really plays in the mid range area, and like that's what I'm saying. They focus a lot on Jimmy, and these other guys get to rain from three because
hmm
their team is really, you know, made to take away the rim and take away like the mid range and double off and have roamers. But
yeah,
you can't roam on to 3 point shooters. You
yeah,
can't do it because then if you roam onto a 3 point shooter, somebody cuts and they're at the rim. So it's like I think that's what they've been trying to do, and I just feel like it was a lack of effort for the Celtics. Like
yeah.
these first the first 3 games, it was just a lack of effort.
I think lack of effort, but also I think at some point when guys are frustrated, you need somebody to kind of pull them out of that funk. Typically, that's your coach's job. If not your coach, then it's your best player. And I think this might be controversial. I don't know, but from what I've seen of him so far, Jason Tatum reminds me a little bit of like a Kevin Durant,
Mm.
where like he's a great player, but he's not the type of vocal leader that a lot of the greatest players of all time have been. Guys like Magic and Larry and Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant. Like he's not a vocal, like get in your face, get your shit together type of guy. which
Sean,
Jimmy obviously is, which
Sean,
is why he's able to play so well with guys who were undrafted and third stringers in Minnesota and whatnot.
none of those guys you listed were light skinned. And I just want to keep throwing this out there. I just want to keep throwing it out there.
Shut up. Shut up.
From the
Shut
time,
up.
the last time, not including Stephen
Kevin
Curry.
Durant's not light skinned.
Yeah, but he got light skin tendencies.
Oh my god.
He got light skin tendencies, John. He got Jason Tatum is light skin, light skin. Okay, he is light
Okay.
skin, light skin. Okay, Stephen Curry is light skin, but he's still a dark nigga. Like there is some difference. There is some differences in their game.
But
Okay.
even then, but the thing is, even then, KD has, Steph has Draymond,
Yeah.
and Draymond will do that for sure, and he has the respect to be able to do that. Like, so either way, like this team, the Celtics don't seem to have that. I think Jalen Brown could be that, but I think the whole idea of Jason Tatum being the number one is like what's getting to them, even against us. Jalen Brown was the best player in that series for the Celtics.
Yes.
So it's like it's weird that at the end of the game you're still choosing to go to Jason Tatum, and even the guys on TNT were like, "Yeah, Jalen Brown's playing the best, but if Jason's the guy, he has to have the ball in his hands at the end of the game." And it's just like, why? Who decided that? Like, why don't you just stay with the hot hand, which has been Jalen Brown throughout the entire series? So the Celtics, I think, from just the organizational like team standpoint, like a coaching strategy, morale standpoint, are lacking, which is the opposite of the Heat.
Yeah.
And the on the other side, you have the Nuggets who just have everything. Sounded like what's his name, the pig from Looney Tunes. But the Nuggets
That's
just
all,
have like,
folks.
yeah, the Nuggets just have everything. They have finally all their guys healthy.
Mhm.
Michael Porter Jr., Jamal Murray, and Nikola Jokic all healthy. They have Aaron Gordon. They have like all the pieces, and then on top of that, they have a good coach who's making timely adjustments when they need to. So it's tough. Like so far, the Nuggets have been the most complete team in the playoffs. Even the Suns, like the Suns had to trade basically their entire bench to get KD, so they ended up with no bench and hardly any defense. The Lakers have a rookie head coach on top of a bunch of new pieces that came in at the trade deadline. The Sixers, obviously, you know, not gonna get too deep into that because it still stings a little, but coaching issues, I'll say. We'll just leave it at that.
We had coaching
Along with
issues.
along with some health issues because Joel missed the first game and was playing the rest of the series on a sprained knee that he was supposed to be out 4 to 6 weeks with, but whatever. Um, yeah, and then I mean the Warriors is kind of the same thing. Like you had a bunch of guys who were like kind of coming in from the trade deadline. You also had young guys. You had the whole drama with Jordan and Draymond, and everybody was saying the team wasn't the same ever since that point. Like their relationship wasn't the same. Um, yeah, the Nuggets are like the least drama in the NBA right now.
They don't have any drama.
Yeah,
They don't. They're a tight knit group who were drafted. The majority of them were drafted together.
yeah,
Their core guys were all there for a minute. And have had to overcome adversity together. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Getting eliminated in I think it was the second round last year to what
yep.
who the
The
Warriors,
Warriors. Yeah,
and like them like literally like killing Jokic. They killed him in the pick and roll. That's why when I said I stand on what I said, but like what I said was if the Lakers beat the Warriors, the Lakers were going to lose that next series, and if
hmm
the Warriors would have won, they were going to beat Denver because they had the key to making Jokic work.
yeah.
They didn't have, the Lakers didn't have that. And like what I would give Denver credit for that I did not see coming into it. This is why I had originally put the Suns to beat them as well. Was their defense? Their defense has been fucking incredible. Like their
The
defense,
Nuggets.
yeah, their defense has
Yeah,
been fucking incredible. And it really shocks you because then you start looking at the guys they have. Like it's more so they have like pieces off the bench that come in and defend. Aaron Gordon is their main defender. Bruce Brown as well. KCP, and you start looking at them, you go, damn, they do kind of have some defenders on their team. So you
Yeah.
kind of, you know, what I mean, it was kind of like fool's gold seeing them not doing it, and then like when it matters the most, they're defending. Even Jokic, I give Jokic
Yep.
a lot of shit. This is one of the main reasons I wanted Joel to win MVP was because he didn't, and like Jokic not by any means a rim protector or like a shot blocker, but
Yeah.
he's a body. He's a
Yeah.
body. Like he kind of like reminds me a little bit of on defense, not as a player, God, not as a player. Andre Drummond, where like Andre Drummond is not a great defender, but he has a body and he knows how to use it. And
Yeah.
Jokic, to even better extent, has better footwork than Drummond. So like he's
Yeah.
sliding his feet, and you know what I mean, and he knows when and where to go, draw in charge and stuff like that. So giving Jokic a lot more credit than I ever did, and like Sean, I'll come to a point where like I don't know whether it's me being so
Hurt.
pissed,
Yeah.
hurt, bullshitted, lied to, and like abused, and all this
Hmm.
other shit. But I'm ready to say that Nikola Jokic is the best center in the NBA.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think you know one of the things that a lot of guys talk about is one of your best abilities is availability. And I think Joel has worked very hard to be available. However, circumstances have just made it so that a lot of times when we get down the stretch, even though he's in the game, he's not at 100%. And Jokic, for what it's worth, I don't know if it's his style of play or what, but he's been able to be durable. And he's been able to keep his level of play at the same level throughout not just the regular season but also the playoffs. And I mean that's one of the biggest factors in winning a championship is like having your best player play at their highest level when it matters the most. And although Joel did have three straight 30-point games, we know that we saw like towards the fourth quarter in a lot of those games, you can see he was gassed. He wasn't getting the right lift on his jump shot. He wasn't, getting uh, up to contest shots the way that he normally does. Like you could just see it starting to wear on him. And Jokic, for the most part, I don't know if I don't know if it's just his game. He's definitely not. I wouldn't say in better shape than Joel, but he just has this way of controlling the pace of the game in a way where he can, move at a slower pace on offense and defense and just kind of run a marathon and rather, instead of a sprint. Like he gets to the end and he's still got, left in the tank to push him through the finish line. Um, so it's tough from an individual standpoint. I think I'd rather have Joel. If you're talking like one or two games, I think I'd rather have Joel. And if they're both at 100%, but if you're talking a series, I think I'd rather have Jokic. But again, it also depends on the team around them. Like
Yeah,
it depends on the team around them, and it depends on the coach.
because like your
I'll
second
say
option is averaging 30 points. I think you're
exactly.
definitely good, but like it was because like normally respect factor. Like I respect every NBA player to a certain extent, but like normally your headspace. You're a fan. These two great bigs, and there's a lot of debate and a lot of toxicity between the two fan bases about talking about these two bigs. Oh, he plays
Hmm.
defense. He controls the games better. He's clutch. He makes the right read. Like that whole back and forth, you get so lost in it. But like seeing him play when it mattered the most. And I think that was kind of pushed me to the side because like before I'm like, oh, Joel plays defense. I don't know why we were not factoring in this, but what I was not factoring in for Jokic is that his full basketball IQ is fucking ridiculous. Like
Yeah,
you can't double him. Not not
yeah,
not just because he'll find the open man. He'll fucking pass somebody open. Like
yeah,
there's not too many NBA players in NBA history that can pass you open. Just by them thinking that he's going to pass it to the open man, he'll fucking dump it off to somebody else that wasn't open before, but they kind of crashed over. The defense
Yeah.
rotated and they left him like it's fucking insane. And like I feel like my not hatred, but like my me wanting Joel to win it so bad, I think I've devalued Jokic's abilities.
Hmm.
And now that I mean Joel kind of failed me in a way when I needed him the most. And then seeing him literally have a fucking double double in the first like fucking 8 minutes of a game.
Yeah.
Everything was running through him.
Well, this is why coaching matters,
Yeah.
right? For the most part, Jokic has had the same coach for like
No, he's had
his
it.
entire time,
No,
like
he had the
there.
same coach his entire time.
Yeah. So like that's important. Knowing the playbook is important. Knowing your teammates is important. Like if you think about it, how many different starting lineups has Joel been a part of over the past 5 years? Like if like it's hard to have those types of moments when you aren't able to just know off the top of my head, okay, I know this guy, he likes to do this, he's going to be here. I know this coach, I know this play, I know all this stuff. Like for the most part, Joel Embiid has had to adapt a lot over the course of his NBA career to different coaching styles and different personnel around him to the point that I think Joel is capable of doing a lot of the same things that Jokic is capable of doing, but it's just he doesn't have the consistency to be able to show that. Whereas like Jokic has had that. He's been on the same team, he's had the same coach, he's had for the most part a lot of the same teammates for his entire time in Denver.
Yeah.
So, I think we saw even when before we made the trade deadline move to get James Harden, when Joel was just it was just Joel, Tyrese, Seth, like those guys in the starting lineup. Joel ran points sometimes, and it worked. Like I know he's capable of doing it. He may not be capable of doing it at the same level of Jokic, but it's just you have to have the coach who's willing to say, okay, I want to do this now. Like James, he's too many turnovers. He's not is not working. Let's try and just play through Joel in a way where like you bring the ball up because we know James is being picked up basically full court by Jalen Brown, who's bigger and stronger, faster, younger. Like, let's just try something different. And it's like you have to have the personnel and you have to have the coach that's willing to put that faith in you. And not only that, but make it a part of the system. Like Jokic doing the things that he does, that's their system. That's the way that they play. They don't have to adjust to that. It's just the way that they do it. Whereas like with Joel, it's constant like, all right, we got James Harden, so he's the point guard now. Oh, Ben Simmons sat out. Joel, you're gonna bring the ball up the floor. Oh, Tyrese is really good. Tyrese is gonna bring the ball up the floor. It's like it's constant
Yeah.
back and forth and changes. Even before Ben left, when they had Jimmy, Jimmy said it himself. When they got to the playoffs, Jimmy had the ball in his hands almost all the time, and he didn't even think it was fair. He was like, it felt weird to just make that switch out of nowhere virtually unprompted when we were winning games before.
Yeah.
So I think consistency matters, but I will say, I think the thing that astonishes me the most about Joel is his level of improvement from where he started to where he is now, in spite of all the inconsistency and in spite of all the setbacks due to injury and all the, issues with teammates and things like that. Like in spite of all that, the level of progression that Joel has made in the amount of time from basically basically 10 years. Like starting to play basketball at the age of 15 to now at 28. It's been like what 14 years uh for him of just playing the sport of basketball. Whereas like Jokic has played basketball for a while. It wasn't his favorite sport. It wasn't like the thing he liked to do in his, free time or whatever, but he's done it for a while. Like basketball is huge in Europe. So it's the same thing with Luca. Like Luca is astonishing. Luca is amazing. But at the same time, it's like you got to remember this is somebody who's been playing professional basketball since he was 14. So of course he's this good. You know what I mean? Whereas with Joel, it's like it's pretty amazing. And I what I will say is that if you were to switch them, if you were to put Jokic on the Sixers and Joel on the Nuggets, where like the situation is completely the same, we might be having the same conversation about Joel that we're having about Jokic. They might have won a championship already. Like who knows? Because I would say Joel is not as bad of a pick and roll defender as Jokic is. So it's hard to say. Like I think Joel could play with anybody. I think Jokic could play with anybody. But not having to change styles, change systems, change offenses, change coaches,
He's gonna have
like
to
all of
again.
that. Yeah, like that matters.
No, 100%. But I just feel like the edge and the the thing that I was giving Joel, I kind of had to take it away
Yeah.
because when you zoom out, right,
Hmm.
from the fan perspective, the basketball perspective, it's like how much credit do we give to a guy that can get halfway there, constantly can get halfway there,
Hmm.
lose in dramatic fashion every time, in games where if he would have shown up just a little bit more, we already asked him to do a lot, but like fuck it, you're a superstar. That's what you get paid to do. You're the
Yeah.
MVP nonetheless. If you
Yeah.
showed up just a little bit more, we're not having this conversation.
Yeah.
Versus somebody who I'm probably well, no, he was in the Western Conference Finals before, but somebody who
Lost
has
to LA.
yeah, who who can do it, has done it time and time again. Biggest gripe against him was defense, and the biggest gripe against their team was that they weren't healthy. And once they got healthy, here they are in the NBA Finals.
Yeah.
Versus like a guy. I mean, if it's not even just solely Joel, but just like dude, like you haven't made it out of the second round.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things that you touched on was health. Like Jokic has been very fortunate and unfortunate in the sense that he himself has been
Yeah,
healthy,
and his
but
teammates
his
have.
teammates have not. Whereas Joel is the opposite. His teammates have been healthy, whereas he hasn't. So I think health, if you take health out of it, how much does it change both of their careers? Whereas, like, maybe Joel doesn't miss the first two games against Miami last year. Maybe Joel doesn't miss the first game against Boston this year, or he's just at 100% period in the games that he plays. Like it's tough. It's tough to consider. Even the first series that we played against Boston, like where he had to play against play with a mask because Markel
Ran into
broke
him.
his face. Like it's just been bad break after bad break, no pun intended. Uh, but for Jokic, same thing. Like Jamal Murray getting injured, Michael Porter Jr. getting injured. Like it's been a lot of the same shit. So it's just a matter of when the stars align.
And,
You know what I
and
mean? I think for Jokic right now, the stars have aligned.
but it just seems like the stars have aligned for us, but they just don't fucking do it. It's like everything sometimes is just laid out perfectly for them, and then they still can't do it. And that's the thing that I've been like stuck on a little bit. I think we might have lost Sean a little bit, but like that's the thing I've been stuck on a little bit is that it seems like everything is going right in just a split second. Everything is gone. Like the entirety of everything you work for. You back now? Cool, Sean. I think we're having some technical difficulties.
I'm back.
Okay, cool. So you heard everything I said?
No.
Okay, all right. Basically, what I was saying is I forgot. God damn it! God damn it! I was spitting. I was fucking spitting, Sean. Now I forgot.
You Forgot.
I fucking forgot, dude. I was going crazy too. Great point. Great point. I won't listen to this shit back and
Well,
I'm
hold
go.
on. Just keep talking. I'm gonna see if I can, cause I had a hotspot.
Okay.
I had a hotspot that turned off, so I'm gonna go turn it back on. So give me a second.
All right, cool. I'm gonna be talking for a little bit while for a little while longer then while Sean fixes that up. I'm trying to remember what I was saying. Oh, I was going in too. I was talking that shit. Um, but yeah, man. Oh yeah, that's what I'm saying. I remember what I was saying now. It feels like they have had constant chance at the chance to do it, and they failed. Like whether it was losing when you were up 30 to Atlanta multiple times, multiple instances, where like you should have won that. And I feel like stars don't have to align for you to do the things that you should do. You know what I mean? It's kind of like going back to like me in fucking elementary school, and like I would bring home straight A's, and my mom would look at me and go, "Wait, I'm not letting you win. I'm not giving you nothing for something you should do." You know what I mean? Like the stars should not have to align for you to keep a 30-point lead. Like your stars should not have aligned because your stars have already aligned to get you to that point. So it's like at a certain point it's like, do you want it enough? Because there's no team, any team that is above us, air quotes. I'm doing air quotes for people that's listening. There's no team that is above us that should would or would give up what we given up in terms of Sean. What I'm talking about is which I found my point again when you said
Okay.
the align part. Like I'm like my point is, and then Sean fucking walks away again. You fucking whore. You fucking whore. You fucking walk away again. You fucking whore.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I don't know. What I was saying is the line part, and I was like,
Yes.
how many times like? Because I feel like it has aligned so many times for us, and we just haven't taken the opportunity. Right?
I don't know.
I'm comparing.
I don't
Listen,
know.
this one
Go
thing.
ahead.
When back to me in elementary school, I used to bring home straight
Okay.
A's, and and I would like, hey, can I get like some new pair of shoes? And my mom would look at me and go, no, because this is what you're supposed to do, right? So let's take you back to
Okay.
the Hawk series. We're up 30. We're up 30. What fucking
Yep.
stars have to align for you to stay up 30? There's no
You have.
stars.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's no stars. You are up 2. Why the fuck are you treating it like you're up 20? There's no stars in the line for you to know obvious shit. That
Yeah.
shit was 81-83 for the fucking longest.
True.
There was no, in a closeout game, in a perfect scenario, at home, you did what you did. You did what you were supposed to. You went on the road. You went home to close it out, and you couldn't do it. This
Yeah.
a closeout game in a series where you don't have home court advantage at your home. How does the stars align any better than that? It's like how
You're right. You're right. I listen. I don't think there's any excuses for the Atlanta series. There's just no excuses for the Atlanta series. You could say Ben Simmons quit on the team. You could say whatever. That's not an excuse. I think for Boston, I think things are different if Joel's at 100%. However, because we were up 3 games to 2, because we were up in game 6, there's still, you can't use that as like, oh, we lost the series because Joel wasn't at 100%. That's
because you
not why you lost
because
the
you can't
series.
even say that because
Right.
Joel missing the first game, we still fucking won. So
We
it's not
still
like we
won. Yeah.
lost it. We lost it. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is like the Miami series when we lost the first two because Joel didn't play the first two. That's not the
Right.
same as that. Where it's like, well, even if you lose against Boston, and that's even if Joel's healthy, which he was technically, but he didn't look that way. Even if you
You
lost
talking about
that
just
one,
now
yeah, this
in the
this
last
this
series?
yeah,
He wasn't. He
right.
wasn't.
This is what I'm saying. Even in that sense that you go in game two and you lose, you still did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah.
You took home court advantage. You took it, and then you go there. The next game you lose, but then you win the next two. You win. They win one in Philly. You go to Boston, and we whoop they ass in Boston.
Yeah. Yeah.
You come home, and it's just it's like how much do you want it? It's not even the fuck the stars align because obviously that shit doesn't work for us. When stars align does not mean it's work. It works. We were up.
Well, here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. This is the first year. This I would say this year and the year against Atlanta are the first 2 years where the stars were completely aligned. The only 2 years. I mean, you could go back to Toronto. Toronto had the better coach. They had probably the best player in the world at that point in Kawhi Leonard
Hundred
before he
percent.
was injured again. And they had just a really balanced team. They had Kyle Lowry still. They had Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby. They had Fred VanVleet. Like they had a good bench. They had a really balanced team. They had size. They had athleticism. They had pretty much everything that they needed to match up well against us. Plus, they had the superior coach and the better individual player in Kawhi Leonard. The year before that, the year we lose to Boston in the second round, Boston was the better team. They had just gone to the Eastern Conference Finals. They had the better coach. It was the Sixers, I believe, their first year in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that's kind of a wash.
Yeah,
Boston was also the higher. I think they were the number one seed, weren't they? Or
they were
they
number two,
they were number two.
and every team was trying to get them because Kyrie was injured.
Exactly. But even then, they still had a team that went to the conference finals the year before without Kyrie. So they were still a great fucking team. Um, the bubble series, Ben being injured, it was pretty much just Joel and Al fucking Horford, who shouldn't have never been there in the first place. Jimmy was gone, JJ was gone. It just wasn't a good team. Then you get the Atlanta series, whereas like that was it. That was the time. The stars aligned. We should have won the championship that year. We were the number one seed in the East. We had one of the best players in the league, if not the world. We had probably one of the best starting lineups in terms of just balance. We had a great bench and we just blew it. We had a star player who quit. We had a coach who refused to bench said star player, even though there was another guy on the bench who was playing amazing. The next year after that, you get James Harden, but you get him at the trade deadline. He misses a couple
That
games.
doesn't,
Joel
and
misses
that
some
never
games.
works. That never works. That situation never works.
It never works
When you get that like a number two guy
at the trade
at the
deadline.
trade deadline,
It never works.
it
Plus,
never
we gave
works.
up. We gave up basically two starters
We
to get
kind of
him. We
we
gave
kind
up.
of did exactly what Phoenix did.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then now this year, where once again, this was probably our best shot, especially with the Bucks getting eliminated. Our biggest challenge was probably going to be Boston, like straight up.
Yeah.
So there's really no excuse. there's really we were one of the two best teams left in the league. Philly and Boston, in terms of record, were the two best teams in the league that were left. The Nuggets were number one in the West. They had a worse record than us.
Right. And
So
remember we were saying the team that wins this has the fucking home court advantage throughout the rest of the
throughout the
playoffs.
rest of the playoffs, yes, exactly, exactly. And Boston is not a great home team, which we proved by winning 2 games in Boston. So it just doesn't. There's no excuse. You're right. There's no excuse for at least those 2 years. Other years you can point to something and say, well, if this didn't happen, things would probably be different. I mean, fuck, even the 2019 year against the Toronto Raptors, if Kawhi's miracle shot doesn't go in, things will probably be different. So, like almost every year, there's something you can point to. For the Nuggets, it's been kind of the same thing, except this year.
Yeah.
So this is their best shot. If they go and they lose, then they're in the same boat as us. The only difference is they made it to the finals instead of, getting bounced in the second round. But even then, we played a harder team than them. Like, if imagine if the Nuggets had, I mean, imagine if the Nuggets had to play the Celtics in the second round
Nuggets would have took care of business at home.
at home. Sure, actually, I don't even know because
The
the Celtics,
Nuggets,
like I said, are a better road team.
the Nuggets would have won that game.
Game six.
Game six, they would have won game
Yeah.
six.
Okay. Okay. I believe you.
They would have won that. They're 8-0 at home
True.
during this entire playoff run. They're
But
winning that
at,
fucking game.
but at the same time, until they play the Celtics, which they probably won't, but they might in the finals, where that's where we're going to see that same situation play out.
But their
They're
overall,
gonna they're gonna play the Celtics. They're not gonna have home court advantage, and we're gonna have to see if that's the case.
their overall team is just better than ours. Like
Who? The Nuggets?
their overall team is just
Yeah.
better.
Yeah.
They're just better. You got two guys in Jokic and Jokic and Jamal that are better in the playoffs than
Hmm.
they are in the regular season. You got Michael Porter Jr. who's
Yep.
just unfazed by anything. You got Jeff Green who constantly turns back the clock. At this point, it's not even turning back the clock. He just fucking is who he is. And
Yeah.
Bruce Brown, who we saw in the playoffs with Brooklyn, was a problem. Aaron Gordon, who just whatever they need, he does. KCP can't miss. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Christian Brown, I'm sorry, off the bench, fucking looks like a laser. They're not even using Zeke Naji. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then just like go
Hmm.
deeper to who, like, if Zeke Naji was on the Sixers, he fucking be playing minutes.
Yeah.
Like they have no choice but to play him minutes.
Yeah.
Whereas they're just overall the roster construction, just like bringing in guys who fits the team, not just bringing in fucking names, which
Yeah.
we did for the
That's the thing. We
longest.
we literally have probably three serviceable bench players: George Niang, Jalen McDaniels,
He wasn't even
and
he lost time. He
he
lost
did
time. Like that is
Jalen McDaniels, George Niang, and uh, Anthony Melton.
only
Everybody else is very inconsistent.
only one of those guys would be a bench player on these other teams.
Yeah.
Only one of those guys that you listed would
Yep.
be a serviceable, playable player in the playoffs for other teams, and that's D'Anthony Melton. That's
Yep.
it. That's it. George Niang is not consistent enough. He's kind of like Furkan in a way, where if his shot isn't falling,
He's useless.
he's a fucking cone.
Yeah.
Who else? Jaden McDaniels. I feel as though that was not the best. I do see him more potential in him than what he was showed, but then again, that's what I seen. I could only go based off what I seen.
Right.
And
He's young. He has time, but it's like as of right now, you're not ready.
he's 25.
Well, damn. How long's he been in the league though?
I think like 4 years.
Really? I didn't know that. I thought he got just drafted a little bit older.
That's what happens when you play in Charlotte.
This is true. This is true.
I'm sorry, let me say that back. When you play for the Hornets, Charlotte, there's nothing wrong with you. It's your fucking franchise. I hate I'm not going to cap. I hate when people say that shit. Like when they be like, "Oh, fucking Philly sucks." No. The Sixers suck.
Yeah. The Eagles are amazing.
The Sixers suck.
The Phillies were just in the World Series.
No,
the
not
Union
even.
were just in the
Not
championship.
even. Not even that. Saying the name of the city versus saying the name of
the
the
franchise.
organization.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
The Hornets suck. There's nothing against
Yeah.
Charlotte. It's just the fucking Hornets suck.
Yeah.
Like even like the people and like when the Sixers lost, they were like Philadelphia is going to be pissed, and they should be. Like
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
Sixers organization. Like it's at a point with the Sixers, and I guess we could transition to the Sixers because we've kind of said everything we could about the teams that are still in it, the three teams that are still in it. Um, the Sixers, Josh Harris needs to sell the team. Like there, it's obvious that you don't know what the fuck you're doing.
Well, I can't even blame Josh because I think the one thing that I'll give to the Sixers ownership is that they've been flexible. When Sam Hickey came in and they were like, we want to do the process, they were like, okay, we'll give it a shot. When Sam was kind of like trying to extend the process, and it was like, all right, maybe this doesn't really work. Obviously, the league was getting on him as well about, stop this shit now. And they brought in Brian Colangelo, who at the time
Worse.
was a pretty well respected person around the league.
No.
Didn't work out.
Time out. His father was a
Yes, yes,
pretty well respected guy around the league.
correct,
Brian
correct.
Colangelo is always going to be Jerry Colangelo's son.
True, true. This is true. But Brian has had some success. He won Executive of the Year once. Like he's had some success. It wasn't a terrible move. It wasn't a terrible hiring, but eventually it was a terrible hiring. And then you go from Brian Colangelo to Elton Brand, which was a pretty good promotion. Elton was aggressive. He got Jimmy. He got, Tobias. Like he put together a pretty good team. It just didn't work out. The Kawhi shot happened. Like things just didn't work. Then after that, Elton made some terrible moves, trying to be aggressive again, and it just went in the wrong. It just went downhill, and they immediately jumped on. I was like, okay, we're gonna bring in, uh, you know, the fuck. I'm sorry, as a net trying to molest my eye. We're gonna bring in Daryl Morey. Daryl comes in. Eventually, they fire Brett Brown. That's the one thing that I'll say that they. One thing that I'll say about the ownership for the Sixers, they haven't been. They've tried to be good owners in the sense that like we're gonna put together the executive staff and we're gonna let them do their jobs, and we're not gonna micromanage. We're not gonna be Jerry Jones. We're not gonna like do that kind of thing.
Listen,
And once it gets bad enough, we're just gonna make a change. But it's like with the Brett Brown thing, you should have
every
just stepped in and be like, all right, I don't care, fire him. Like,
everything you just showed you listed there did not sound like flexibility to me.
I think
It
so. I think that it shows
sounds
that they've been willing to pivot.
it sounds like failure because when you fail, you have to pivot to something else
But
because
remember,
you failed.
at the same time, we were failing beforehand. Like the Sixers haven't done shit since 2001, and they were not flexible. They were not willing to make the changes necessary until the process started.
Well, it ain't working.
It hasn't. And now we're going to have to pivot again until you get to something that works, and then you stay consistent with that thing that works.
I just
Like
think
that's the thing. A lot of these other organizations, with the exception of like the Lakers, like they've been able to find something that works and just keep that thing alive.
it's
I
also
think the
I
Spurs,
feel
like
like
the Warriors,
through ownership, through the GMs and the president of basketball operations and all those guys up there, it's your job to enforce a culture inside of a team to make these guys like Miami. Like we praise Miami, plays teams like San Antonio, and Toronto for a while was one of those teams. Whereas though when you get here, it's no longer what you do that makes you special. It's what we do that makes us special. And I
yeah,
feel as though that the Sixers have never been that way.
no, but you got to understand that's not a ownership thing. If you think about it, every team that you just mentioned, they're like that because of something other than ownership. For the Spurs, it's Greg Popovich. For the Heat, it's Pat Riley. For the Warriors, it's Uh,
No, but I
uh,
listed the general managers and the presidents of
no,
basketball
I know, but I'm
operations.
saying,
But
Pat Riley's a president of basketball operations. Greg Popovich is a coach slash general manager. I think he's still
he used to
involved
be.
in the
No,
executive side.
it's somebody else now. No,
Oh,
never
okay,
mind. He
but
gave it up.
for the Warriors, it's uh why can I never remember his name?
Bob Myers,
No, Bob Myers. Yes, Bob Myers, along with I would say Steph and uh
Steve Kerr, Clay,
Steve
Draymond.
Kerr. Yeah, it's their core, right? But it's also definitely Bob Myers. Like it's the GM. All ownership does is hire the GM and the president. That's it. After that, they're supposed to step away and just let the guys who are in place do their jobs. And if they do them wrong, then they fire them and hire new guys. And for the most part, the Sixers ownership group has been willing to do that. But the GMs and the presidents and the coaches are the ones who are consistently fucking up. As far as like the culture development, that starts from an executive level, not an ownership level, because ownership isn't that involved. They're not supposed to be.
And the worst thing about it is, I feel like it's
The
too.
ownership is the money. That's it.
I feel like it's too late. I feel like we are way past developing a culture unless we reset.
I think it has to be a reset, but it has to be a top down. I think it has to be from executive down to coach.
And it has to be a situation where like these guys are going to be here for a while. You got to
Yeah.
invest into your coach. You can go might like Brett Brown in a way where like yeah, you have been with this team when they were winning 10 games. You deserve to see when they're winning 50. They're winning in the
Yeah.
50s. It has to be a situation like that where it's like let these players, like these young players develop under a coach that has, like has like shown it theirself or
Yeah.
have been through it theirself. You know what I'm saying? Like a coach that they're going to respect. Because
Yeah.
like once a coach can kind of do whatever he wants and the players just kind of like react to that versus the coach doing some shit and the players are like, "Oh fuck, that's fucking stupid." Or something like that. Like
Right.
like a Pop. Man, I know that is a very one in a million comparison to
Yeah.
Pop. When like once we said last podcast, when we said podcast prior, he benched four with three Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Because they weren't playing hard enough.
Because they weren't playing hard enough. If you let you had they had to let Pop develop. Like Pop had to develop first
Yeah.
before he could
He
do
had to
that.
have
He had
that,
to,
and you have to,
you
and
know
you
what I
have to
mean?
have that trust.
That trust. That's what I'm saying. Like you have a situation where like I said last podcast, if you didn't come into the Sixers like even our development team, and it goes down to your development team. It goes down to what you're saying to the players. It goes down to what you're letting the players do in game. It goes down to letting your players play out throughout their failures. It goes in through letting like you know what I'm saying, like seeing this
Yeah.
shit. Like I
Yeah.
said last podcast, if you don't come in with the mindset of I'm going to get better with the Sixers already installed before you even get here, you're not fucking going to get better.
Yeah.
Our development is shit. Tyrese Maxey got better because Tyrese Maxey wanted to get better.
Yeah.
Joel Embiid got better because Joel Embiid wanted to get better. There's nobody who we can literally say came through and was nothing and became something. Like there's nobody on this team and has been on this team for the last 6 years who actually can say I did the Sixers I'm the Sixers are the reason I did this.
Yeah.
No.
The only time you can point to anybody and say that are the guys who were there during the process.
And
And
even
even
that
then,
it was
that was just because
opportunity.
they were given the
Right.
opportunity and the freedom. Yeah.
And it's like we don't
Jeremy Grant, Robert Covington, like guys who have made like careers who really came into their own through the process. Again, it was just they were given the minutes and the opportunity.
yeah, like
There were
they're
plenty of other guys who were given the same thing and they still didn't turn out to be shit.
like I look at a guy like Jaden Springer. If Jaden Springer
Yep.
does not become anything with the Sixers, we let him go, and this motherfucker becomes like one of the best 3-and-D players in the fucking league.
Yeah.
What the fuck were you doing when the fuck? Look at Matisse
Yeah.
Thybulle, right? His type kind of slowed down to closer to the end of the season. But like he's hitting threes, playing
Yeah,
defense. Obviously, he played defense before, but like it was different. It felt different.
yeah,
He's hitting these threes. He's taking confidence. He ain't overthinking this shit. He's just letting that shit fly. What the fuck were you saying to him for him not to want to do that shit here? Like what
right.
what what were you putting in his head, or what weren't you saying to him for him to want to do that? Because when he
Yeah,
got over there, he was literally like, "Yo, I have freedom. I have freedom."
yeah,
And literally, what we needed Batista to do is shoot threes. Is to shoot threes when he had them wide open threes. He's overthinking this shit.
yeah.
Why the fuck was he overthinking a wide open three? You know what I mean? Like it's like what is happening? Like are we so fixated on our stars that we are fucking pushing away everybody else that isn't there? Because we're
Which is
never
what
going
we need.
right, and
We need everybody else.
we are never going to fucking win that way
Yeah,
ever. Like it's so hard to compare teams to development teams to Miami. Was like, who the fuck was Gabe Vincent?
yeah,
Who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is Matt Strus? Who the fuck are these created players?
yeah.
These auto-generated players that just popped on the fucking face of the world.
Yep.
And why the fuck are they playing well? It's just the confidence that certain teams can give the players that is like,
Because the thing is, the challenge has to start in your own facility. If the biggest challenge they're going to face is the game, then they're not ready.
bro,
Like one of the things that I love the most about Jimmy is that Jimmy has said so many times, I came into a situation where the MVP of the league was getting cursed the fuck out by his coach and his teammates because he missed a defensive assignment. And I knew if y'all are going to yell at him like that, then I better have my shit together because I'm going to get it way harder than he's getting it. And he's ever since then said, I have to be in an environment where I'm allowed to speak. I have to be in an environment where I'm allowed to be an asshole and everybody else is allowed to be an asshole to me. And we're allowed to be assholes to each other because that's how we're going to win. Because if we get out there and we haven't had these talks, we haven't had these discussions, by the time you get on the floor to play an actual game, it's too late.
yeah,
It's
because like,
too late. You can't develop toughness in the moment
and
on
like,
the
cause like,
floor
I look at
during
it,
the playoffs.
I look at that, especially like when you said that when you broke that down, it made so much sense. Whereas though, like Joel, like on a plane, like when you see like shit of them in the plane, Joel's always next to PJ. Like he's always next to PJ, and
Yep.
PJ in ways reminds you of Jimmy and his fuck is you doing? So
Yeah.
what? I got 0 points. Nobody fucking looks at nobody on that court and that team on that bench look at the fact that he has 0 points. They go, yeah, bro, you right. Like nobody's
Yeah.
gonna go, motherfucker, you ain't scoring either. No, like
Yeah.
they're gonna go, you tripping, you right.
Yeah.
And with Jimmy and JJ and TJ, like with the guys we had, like it allowed like nobody to be, left off the hook. Like nobody was off the hook.
Yeah.
Like and like Joel loved that shit because
Yep.
like even in time, even in his worst moments, like even PJ got on Joel in the game. PJ had got that
Yeah.
and one, and like he went over there and he started yelling at Joel. Like
Yeah.
it sucks that my best player needs that shit,
But at the
but
same
you know what I
time,
mean?
but here's what I'll say though. One thing that I think Joel is experiencing that maybe Jimmy has experienced in the past is that you can't talk to everybody the same way.
Yeah,
Whereas like Jimmy is like he's bounced around the league, he developed a reputation as being an asshole, but it's because you can't talk to everybody the same way. Jimmy realized I can't talk to Carl Anthony Towns the way I want to, so I'm gonna just leave. If I can't get him to like listen to me and be motivated and like have that fire in him that I need him to have, then I just can't be here. Whereas like Joel's been in the same situation, but the difference is Joel has always been told, "Oh, you got to be the leader that everybody loves." I think Joel tries to be more like a Shaq when he needs to
yeah,
be more like a Kobe. Like I think he's tried to be the Kobe and it didn't work, so now he's trying to be the Shaq.
yeah.
Whereas like he's the lovable guy who
But
everybody
like,
wants to be
but
around,
think
but it's
about it.
like, bro, we need you to be the Kobe sometimes because I think he tried to be the Kobe, and then that's how the Ben Simmons situation happens.
But like,
And then it's like, all right, if I'm running my star teammates out of town, maybe I gotta chill out.
But then you have situations where like Joel called out Matisse Thybulle, sitting next to Matisse Thybulle in a post game, and
Right.
Matisse Thybulle then had the best game in his, but not best game,
Because
but like shit like that, like the
and
response
I
to it.
and I think that's him realizing like, okay, Matisse can take it. Shake can take it.
Right.
When they were in the
He
bubble and
told him
they
to slap the shit
Shake
out
he
of him.
blew up. He blew up as Shake. And then the next game, Shake had a great game. They still lost, but Shake had a great
He
game.
had a great
So
game.
like
He didn't want to get slapped
so
the shit out of
yeah, and Shake is still here. So it's like
for
I
now.
think he knows who he can do it with and who he can't. But the problem is, again, the inconsistency. He's got a new coach almost like he new coach, new teammates, new like everything. And it's just like, bruh, I don't know how to motivate these guys. I
And
know how I can talk to certain guys, but I don't know how to motivate these guys. I don't know how to talk to James yet.
that's
And
why
I don't know how to talk to Jalen Green. I don't know how to talk to, you know, D'Anthony Melton yet. Like
that
in the way where I know it'll work. You know what I mean?
what I want so bad is for them to give that job to Sam Cassell.
The
It,
coaching job.
yeah, the coaching job to Sam Cassell, because Sam Cassell, like in the training videos that I've seen with him and Tyrese, him and James Harden, him and Joel, like his that same thing we were talking about, that anger and that just like the willingness to say whatever the fuck he wanted.
Yeah.
That was he was talking shit to them. Like I
Yeah.
mean, it was one thing where like Tyrese Maxey and James Harden was doing this drill, and he made it up. He made this drill up, and he was like, and if it's not a Swiss, you go back to zero. And James Harden was like, "What you mean you go back to zero?" He said, "I mean you go back to zero, motherfucker." Like that
Yeah. Or no,
that
it was if you miss. He was
yeah,
like, you it swishes count as two or something like
yeah,
that. If
yeah,
it's not a swish, it counts as one. If you miss, you go back to zero.
yeah,
And he was like, why you got to go back to zero? He's like, because you missed, motherfucker.
yeah,
And
like
he was
that
like,
that
okay.
that intensity is like what these motherfuckers need, because I feel as though they get so much in the. We got dark skinned players, but they play light skin. Like
Yeah.
I talk about Joel, I talk about Jason Tatum, but like Joel also plays light skin, and that
Yeah.
shit, and like just the pouting and the body language is shit. Like there's like there's so much you can do if you just, because if you see your best player, if I see the MVP quitting, not even quitting, but if I see the MVP bitching and complaining, I think I can bitch and complain. Like, you know what I'm saying? If you cut out those little things, like there's so
Yeah.
much that you can like leading. You can, like if you're leading by example, if you're not the vocal guy, if PJ's the vocal guy, if Tobias is the vocal guy, and you're leading by example, and you're not one of the vocal guys as vocal as those two, and they looking at you, they're seeing everything you fucking do.
Yeah.
Like when you're a franchise player, everybody is your kid.
Yeah.
Everybody to a certain degree is your kid, because they go as far as you go, and they see everything that you do.
Yeah.
And if they are out there, they're gonna think they can do that shit because you did it.
Yeah.
And
I think I think Joel does need somebody though, because I think the problem with Joel is that he can do it when he's on, but when he feels like he's not playing well, he
it's
tends to shut
worse.
down.
It
He
gets
tends to shut.
worse.
He just shuts down. He
Arguing
needs
on the
somebody to
floor, like, bro,
yeah,
get the
like he
fuck
needs
up.
somebody
Like, I
to
don't
he needs
understand.
somebody to like snap him out of it almost.
And I think that's what Jimmy did. I think Jimmy, JJ, like, listen, get Sam Cassell as the head coach, hire
Yeah.
JJ as the
Even
assistant.
TJ.
You
Even
know what I mean?
TJ.
Bring TJ back. You know what I mean? Like, come on. Finally trade Furcon. He's been asking for the fucking trade for 3 fucking years.
Yeah, bro. Like I don't if it could be a second round pick, I don't care. Like just
No,
why are you holding on to him?
they're saying that the Sixers are going to either buy a pick or they're going to trade somebody for a pick, because they're working out players. They're working out players that
Good.
are supposed to be like mid to late draft, mid to late second round.
Second round.
So
Yeah.
it's more so a thing, more so like when and where they're most likely
Yeah.
going to buy a pick or trade for a pick.
All right.
Trade Furcon and fucking.
Let's talk a little bit about coaches.
Yes, sir.
I want you to give me your top 5 coaching options.
Only got 2:
Oh, okay.
Sam Cassell, Nick Nurse.
Sam Cassell, Nick Nurse. Okay. I have a few.
And
I
can
feel like there's no perfect coach out there
can I
because
shoot?
Sam Cassell, I think as the personality, he has the ability to manage the players, but from an X's and O's standpoint, I don't know. I haven't seen him. So it's hard to gauge. But Nick Nurse, I think, is the opposite. I think he has the X's and O's. I don't know how he is with like the personalities managing star players. He's only ever had one.
All right,
Um,
but I will say this: Nick Nurse pulled out of the Bucks job, and the Bucks just signed Adrian Griffin as their new head coach. Um, is a report just came out that reuniting with Maury is very enticing to Nick Nurse, and he just pulled out. I'm be honest with you, the Bucks job was the best job available.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, for sure.
You pulling out of that
The
says
Bucks,
something.
the Bucks and the Suns are the two best jobs.
You pulling out of that says something.
Yeah,
And then the word comes out that him reuniting with Maury is very enticing to him. You don't let
yeah,
like as much as Jokic is doing, as much as how much we love Joel, Giannis is the best player in the NBA, and
yeah,
to get to coach that is the job. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you talk about. Remember we used to say about Westbrook years ago, where like Westbrook only has one mode, and that's why he kept getting fucking injured all the time because all he
yeah.
knows how to do is 100%. That's Giannis. Giannis
But he doesn't get
only,
injured all the time.
and he doesn't get injured all the time, and he every play is 100%. That
This
is
was
the
the
guy.
first year in like forever where Joel played more games than Giannis, and even then it was only like three more games.
Yeah, but listen, I no go back to what you're saying. I just wanted to throw that in there because it just popped up for me.
I like Nick Nurse. Like I said, I think Nick Nurse is kind of the opposite, where he has his strength is I think the X's and O's. But as far as like the star players and the personalities and being able to yell at guys and get in their faces, like I don't know, I haven't really seen that. Kawhi, I don't think needed that quite as much coming from Pop. I think he maybe was able to motivate himself and get himself together a little bit. He just had injury issues.
But Nick Nurse had
Um,
balls though, bro.
no, he
Like he
does. No, he
has
does.
ball. Like what I
I
said,
don't
bro.
disagree with that.
He set Fred Van set. I can't fucking speak. He set Fred Van Vliet out, who was one of their best players, because
Yeah,
they were playing against Ben Simmons and be like, listen, bro, you're 6'1", you're probably not gonna get shots up like that. Stay locked in, keep stay ready. And then Fred VanVleet had the best series of his life. The next one, like that
yeah,
ability, and what we have never had is a coach that makes adjustments. We've had a
yeah,
coaches that are so fixated on players and what the players should be playing and the positions that the players are at that they never make the adjustments needed, and so get lost in the star of the player and
yeah.
the magnitude of the player that they don't make adjustments. Bro, fuck that. You trying to win? Nick Nurse
So
has
I'm a
showed that.
I'm gonna give you my four guys: Nick Nurse, okay, Monty Williams. Actually, five. I'm sorry, Monty Williams, Sam Cassell, and then the last two, which might be surprises. I know one of them will be Chris Quinn.
Who the fuck is
Chris
that?
Quinn was just Chris Quinn was just interviewed for the Toronto job. He is the assistant coach for the Miami Heat. He is a former player. He played for Notre Dame in college, and he played actually for the Miami Heat when he came to the NBA. Played 6 years in the league, bounced around a little bit, and then eventually got a coaching job with Miami. And now is their assistant coach. He was actually the acting head coach, filling in for Eric Spoelstra on the night that the Heat set their franchise record 144 points against the Charlotte Hornets last year. Just throwing that out there. Former player, great relationships with players, former point guard, knows the game, high basketball IQ. He's got a ton of videos of him doing the same thing Sam Cassell does, working out with guys, showing them drills, playing one on one with guys. He's a little bit younger, which I think in recent years has worked in the NBA. Ime Udoka, Brad Stevens, even Joe Mazzulla. Joe Mazzulla actually played in college against Jimmy Butler, by the way. But
And
I figured
got
I'd throw that
taken
out there.
out. Yeah, got taken out by
Yep,
him.
yep,
Joe Mazzulla
um,
is younger than Al Horford.
yep. So I just want to throw that out there. Chris Quinn, I think, is a great option. And then number five, the exact opposite, Larry Brown. I think Larry Brown is a tremendous X's and O's coach who has enough experience and respect that he's not going to take any shit from anybody, regardless of what they think about him, which I think is also very necessary. And on top of that, he already has connections to the Sixers organization, coached us to our last finals, coached the Pistons to the championship against the Lakers in 2004. He's currently an assistant coach for the Memphis Tigers. Um, Larry Brown, I think, is one of the better options because he's one of the only people who I know for a fact has both qualities, being able to manage star talent along with having the X's and O's and the basketball IQ that you want in a coach. He's the only person that I can name of all those people who I know for a fact has both.
I feel like somebody who has been removed from the NBA for a while and doesn't really seem to need it. I think that is it's more convincing to even get back because like when you look at it, he's won an NBA championship. He's won an NCAA championship. He doesn't really need to like do this shit no more. You know what I mean? Like obviously he's still
Mm-hmm.
like you said, as assistant coach for in Memphis, but like you probably would have to convince him to do that shit. Like you have to like really
Right,
pry him away from doing that
right.
shit because like he's older. He's like, and I think he's like in his 80s. You know, and like I mean, obviously Pop. I think Pop is also in his 80s. But like
Yeah,
it's
they're both from the similar era. And Pat,
yeah they
I think Pat's a little bit younger of the three of them.
yeah Pop is 74. Oh, how old is Pat Riley?
I would bring in Larry. I mean, even if it's an executive position, I would love to have Larry Brown and Stephen A. Smith, who I rarely agree with. One thing that he said on multiple occasions about the Sixers, he said that it's ridiculous that Larry Brown and Allen Iverson have no involvement in the Sixers organization whatsoever. It just doesn't make sense.
Fire the
It
owners.
just doesn't make sense.
I said this about the owners, Sean.
I know, I know. I mean, you could argue that what position would AI take? I don't
They
know.
rather have little baby there. You know.
I think that's a Harden thing, but okay.
No, he was showing up, but wait before Harden was there
True,
because Michael Boorman.
true. And Meek.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think having Allen, because Allen will do that shit.
Yes, he will, bro.
Allen will definitely get in people's
Bro
faces.
was just at fucking he just fucking in Atlanta somewhere. He's just down south somewhere, just fucking
Who? Allen?
Allen Iverson, just down south somewhere, just
No,
fucking.
he still lives up here.
I mean, I know he lives up here, but you gotta think Allen Iverson. There's more than
Yeah.
one house.
Oh, of course. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, I think Larry Brown should be an option. I think it's like you said, he doesn't need it. I don't think he's gonna come in thinking like I gotta do this for my job. It's like he's done it already. He's thinking like, all right, am I gonna have the freedom to do this shit how I want? If not, then I'm not gonna do it.
Can you imagine having Allen Iverson as an assistant coach?
Bro, if you want somebody to yell at you when you're not doing shit, especially James, like who's a better mentor for James?
I feel like it's too late
Because
for
they
him.
both what?
I feel like it's too late for him to be mentored.
Well, but the thing is, they both
You know
are
who? You know
similar.
who knew to
They're
sign Allen Iverson? The fucking Memphis Grizzlies. And that's who the fuck need to sign him.
maybe, but
God
I
damn it,
think the
Ja.
thing about AI is that him and James actually are as close as you can get to the same player. Not necessarily in terms of, I mean, a lot of it in terms of their game. They both
Yeah.
obviously have amazing handles, amazing scorers, but like even just the off the court stuff. Like Allen was known as the guy who did not care much about the off the court stuff. Was known to go out before games. Was known to enjoy the nightlife quite a bit, but he still showed up. I think if there's anybody who can teach James, like, all right, yeah, all that shit is cool, but you need to show up when these games matter. Like I think Allen could be the guy to kind of light the fire under him. Like, yeah, if you're gonna do all that shit, you got to take this shit serious. You got to
Is
take it even more serious than you are right now.
is Allen Iverson the greatest player to never win a championship?
Ooh, uh, that's tough. That's tough. I think it's between him and Charles.
I think majority of people we still give it to AI. I think his cultural impact.
Well, I mean, if you're talking about that, then yeah. If you're talking about purely like game,
I also think it would be Allen Iverson.
I don't think it's clear though. I mean,
But I feel like he has two factors in it. You know what I mean? He has the basketball player, then he has the cultural icon.
no, for sure, for sure. But I think if you're just talking about
I'm
just
talking.
pure basketball, like I think it's I think it's closer than people may realize. I think there's some recency bias because a lot of us didn't get to see Charles in his prime, but Charles in his prime was the head and shoulders second best player in the world.
Mm.
Like clearly the second best player in the world. A lot of people argue that he was the reason why like that team in 92, the dream team was as dominant as they were was because Charles was just the glue guy who filled in wherever they needed to. And he was the second best player on the team behind Mike. Like Charles, I think people undervalue Charles because he didn't win a championship and because he played in an era where he was competing against
So you think
the
it's
likes of
opposite?
Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen.
Do you think it's opposite? How
What do you
people
mean?
react to Allen Iverson than how they react to Charles Barkley? Like they
Maybe.
people talk about Allen Iverson like he won one. You know what I
True.
mean? Like he
Well, I
has
think the
that.
difference I
But
think the biggest difference is that Allen had such a spotlight on him, whereas Charles was sort of always in the shadow of Michael.
mm, okay.
Like there was a point in time when Allen Iverson was better than Kobe. The only reason they lost in 2001 was because of Shaq. If you switch Shaq and Mutombo, the Sixers sweep the Lakers. Probably. Like if
That's
Allen
facts.
Iverson and Shaq were on the same team in their prime, there's nobody that's beating them. So like Shaq was always the key factor. It was Kobe was great. He was obviously a huge part of it, but they virtually canceled out him and Allen. So like there was a point in time when Allen was the guy and all he missed was help. So I think that's why people talk about Allen as if he won one was because it's kind of like what LeBron did in 2018. Like Allen dragged that team to the finals. Like Charles has probably, but even then, like when Charles was in Philly, he didn't really have much help. When he got to Phoenix, that was when things started to pick up. But even then, like his second best player was probably fucking I don't know Danny Ainge. Like it's it's tough. I think the difference is that like it's just the run. Like the run that AI had in 2001, it felt like a championship. Even though they lost, they were the only team to beat the Lakers in the entire postseason.
Yeah.
And they only won one game.
I'm watching.
They handed the Lakers their only loss that postseason.
I'm
The Lakers
watch.
were 12-1.
I'm watching Allen Iverson's highlights from his last season
Yeah. But
when he
even
got
then,
back to
like
Philly.
the thing is, Allen changed the game, but Charles kind of did too. Like Charles was the
Small
first,
ball before small ball was a thing.
yeah, like the small ball four, point forward. Like he was one of those original point forwards, him and Scotty. And you could say Larry to an extent, but Larry didn't handle the ball quite as much, I think, as them. Uh, but Charles kind of changed the game too. We just don't talk about it as much because he wasn't as big of a cultural icon. But again, at the same time, he's playing in a league with Michael Jordan, so and Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. So it's like, you know, it's tough.
He got
That you
like
can also give Charles part of the credit for making the NBA a global game.
because of the dream team.
Yeah, and even just his style of play, as like we said, a small ball four. Look at almost all of the talent that's coming out of Europe these days. Like it's bigger guys who have guard like skills. Like Charles was one of the first dudes to do that.
Yeah, I feel like yeah, he doesn't get the respect he deserves. That's why I wanted to compare him to Allen Iverson, who
Yeah,
like I feel like gets the respect. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
he
But
gets
I think there's some recency bias in that though,
okay.
because Allen's time was more recent, and on top of that, I think both of them, personality wise, had a tendency to sort of rub people the wrong way. Charles was very outspoken. He said whatever the fuck was on his mind whenever the fuck he wanted to say it. Like he was kind of cocky. Like Charles definitely rubbed some people the wrong way, but Allen like had a whole generation of people that just
Do you
fucking
think
hated him.
do you think that Allen Iverson is talked about differently because he kind of has that Steph Curry effect, where like he's kind of a person. Like that's why like a lot
Maybe.
of kids gravitate toward
Yeah.
why can I say the word? Fuck it. Gravitize,
Gravitated.
gravitated. No, well, current.
Yeah. Gravitated towards him.
Well, is it still Gravitated, Grav-
Yes.
even if like it's present day. If I'm talking about Curry,
Yes.
okay, cool. I mean, I just want to be politically
Or
correct.
I mean, you can say gravitate, but it doesn't matter. I mean,
But like either way, they
it's already happened. So
yeah, okay, well, it's currently happening as well. So that's why I was like, I didn't know whether it would be. It doesn't matter, okay? It doesn't. It's not that deep. It's not that deep. But like a lot of like young kids, like they look at him and they go, I could do that. Like I can't
yeah,
be 6'9". I can't be 7 foot. I can't
yeah,
have those hops, but I could probably shoot like that. You know what I
yeah.
mean? I could probably do that. Like, and I feel like there's probably another person that probably would be along those lines. Even probably, probably is more so. But if he played longer, Isaiah Thomas,
Yeah.
would probably be like that as well because 5'9", dude. We the same height. Shit,
I think
like you know what I mean? Like,
I think the difference is uh, like Charles was undersized for his position.
but he's still like a big ass motherfucker, bro. Six
Exactly.
six.
That's the thing. He was undersized for his position, but he's still like 6'8".
Yeah, like 6'7",
Or
six
no, actually
six
Charles was
six.
like 6'6".
He's like 6'5", 6'6".
Yeah.
But that's still
He was
gigantic.
undersized. He was undersized for his position. Allen Iverson was undersized for the NBA, like
And made
as
the
a
NBA
whole.
his bitch.
Yeah,
He made
right.
the
So
NBA his bitch.
I think that's a huge part of it as well. I think Allen Iverson is a very polarizing individual. You either love him or hate him. I think a lot of people hated him, but it wasn't. It had nothing to do with his game. It was just like his, tattoos, the braids,
It was
the fact that
different.
he refused to wear a suit on the sideline, didn't follow the dress code ever.
Now think about it.
The
Now
chains,
think about that. Fucking coaches don't even wear suits no more.
right,
Coaches
right,
don't wear suits no more. Like he was
right.
before his time, and I think that's a lot of. That's probably another reason why people look at him like they do now still, because like
Yeah,
everything he stood for is now normal in the NBA, and I guess you could give that to Charles too, but like more so, I keep saying Joel, more so Allen Iverson,
yeah,
because once again he has the relatable factor, he has the outside of the NBA factor, he has like
yeah,
even people like Allen Iverson made rappers wanted to be basketball players, bro. Like
yeah.
who was it?
And
Master P. Master P was
Allen
trying out
was
for the Nuggets, like you know what I mean?
Allen was well. Allen, I mean, Master P was a basketball player, I think already, because he played in college, and he got drafted. But the difference is, I think both of them were very relatable in the sense that when Charles came into the league, he did not. He was like a Jokic, like he was just big. He was a round mound of rebound, like he was huge, and he had to sort of adjust himself to play the style of play that he needed to in order to be successful. For Allen, I think both of them have a sort of everyman quality in the sense that for Allen, it's just his height. Obviously, he couldn't do anything about his height, but he was always super athletic. Allen was one of the most athletic individuals on the planet. Like, I think people forget Allen Iverson won a state championship in high school in basketball and football in the same year. Like, he literally won a state championship and was the game MVP in football. and then a few months later did the same shit in basketball. There's a very, 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 very short list of people who've ever been able to accomplish anything like that athletically. On top of that, prior to his issue with, getting arrested, he was getting recruited like to Division 1 schools, full ride scholarships for two different sports. So like, yeah, his height was against him, but he was always like build wise extremely athletic. For Charles, it was the opposite. He was taller, but he was fat. He struggled with his weight, and he had to be really diligent to like get it down and keep it down. So both of them, I think, are very relatable. And then on top of that, Charles is just like he's just one of those dudes that he just wants to be out and among the people. Same as Allen. Like they just like people. They like being around people. They like talking to people. They're nice. They're likable guys. But at the same time, there were things that people hated about them, which also, added to their narrative and their story. But I think what you can't deny is that both of them were revolutionary in terms of the game of basketball. I think both of them contributed greatly to what we now know as
Hey,
positionless basketball.
all right. Speaking of Allen Iverson, and this probably could wrap it up after this, but
Hmm.
NBA TV is set to release a documentary on Allen Iverson's 2001 Sixers.
Good,
Watch that. I'm gonna
good. I'm
bookmark
excited.
this. Can
That was also a crazy run, bro. That was also a crazy run.
can we talk about what's
Had
going to come
that
out?
now wait a second. Now let me say this. Had the Sixers won the championship that year, we would be talking about them in the same category as Dirk and if the Miami Heat win as
Yeah.
Jimmy.
I also
As
believe
far as like the hardest championship of all time.
that we Jokic would be talked about like that because like when you look at the landscape of the NBA and like how teams, like a lot of teams in the West kind of made some trades or got injured.
Yeah.
This could be their only time and only shot to really do it, where
Yeah.
like the traffic to the top is not that much, and
Yeah.
so like we said, the Suns don't really have to do much but build depth. The Clippers just have to
Yeah.
stay healthy. Like you know what I mean? Like a lot
The
of these
Lakers just
teams,
need more time together.
I feel like the Lakers, you bring back everybody that you have on the team. Probably not D'Angelo Russell,
Yeah.
but you bring back everybody else except for D'Angelo Russell, and just you try it again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This like literally when you look at the roster and how it's constructed, you go, this is a team that should be a championship contender team, and the fact
Yeah.
that they made it to the Western Conference Finals after really being together for only 27 games after the trade deadline is
Right.
ridiculous, and they should build upon this. Um,
Yeah.
and the fact that you
Now's
got
their
money,
time.
and the fact you got
Yep.
money, another motherfucker. I don't care. This is back to my previous point that like the Sixers don't know how to develop talent. Austin Reeves,
Yeah.
bro,
Well, see,
bro
and
got
see,
VC. It's like this motherfucker brought VC, and it's like
I
every
think
game this motherfucker did something different.
I think Austin Reeves is sort of the Lakers Kevon Looney, where
Or
you
it's the
you
Lakers
sort of had
Alex
a guy,
Caruso.
or yeah, I think you had a guy who was able to do what you needed, which at first was just shoot, and then he grew with the guys around him as he got more minutes and became like their perfect teammate.
Uh,
Like in the sense that Kevon Looney is the perfect teammate for Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond.
breaking news: Malcolm Brogdon is out for tonight's game, and Gabe Vincent is
Wow.
back.
Wow. So
So
Heat going to the finals.
listen. Next time we talk to y'all, we can wrap it up because I don't think we got anything else.
Yeah.
Next time we talk to y'all, it will be the NBA Finals. We will be
Yep.
at least like one game into it.
Yeah.
Um,
And listen, if you're watching this on YouTube, write down in the comments who do you think the Sixers next coach should be? Should it be one of the guys that we listed or maybe somebody else? Um, Obviously the coaching search has not ended yet. I think we all have a pretty good idea of what we need um, in a coach, but there might be somebody out there that we didn't consider. I know a lot of people throw out Jay Wright every time the Sixers need a coach. People throw out Jay Wright. Jay Wright does not want to leave Villanova. It's never going to happen. He'll probably be harder to convince than Larry Brown. Jay
but
Wright is
you said
Duke.
Jay Wright
Like
to.
he's
Did you say leave Villanova? Bro retired like 2 years
well. I
ago.
mean, sorry. I'm sorry to come back to come back. because Villanova was his home, and he basically decided he was going to be there for the rest of his coaching career, and then eventually retired. Same thing with Coach K in Duke. I think convincing Jay Wright to come out of retirement to coach the 76ers would be harder than convincing Larry Brown because he's not even retired. I, I just don't see it as an option. I know everybody throws the name out. Again, I don't. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But yeah, this was yet another episode. Oh my God, what is this? 20 or no, this is 31?
This is 33.
33.
33.
Episode 33 of the Untitled Hoops podcast. Once again, the episodes have been doing numbers. We appreciate you guys for tuning in. Make sure to like the video. If you like the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell if you're watching on YouTube. If we're watching or listening, excuse me, on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Google Podcasts, go ahead and add us to your favorites. Um, and yeah, we'll see you next time.
Also,
Peace.
before we let it go, there will be a video dropping, and I don't know, we don't know, but like keep post notifications on. We're gonna announce the winner of the All-Star draft, the draft me and Sean did
The
before we
potential draft, yeah,
the potential draft. We're gonna announce the winner sometime this week. It's gonna be a little short little video. Probably
yeah,
gonna be like 5 to 10 minutes, not even that long. But
yeah,
just look out for it because if you were
yep.
listening from there, you'll know who we had drafted or forgot because we have. And it
And
just
we
something
were wrong a lot.
we were wrong a lot. I think I'm getting
Yeah,
points deducted because some people I drafted was fucking terrible.
yep.
Um,
Some
so
guys got injured. Some guys got cut.
some guys
Like,
were promoted to the starting lineup, and I had to take off my fucking bench. So
yep,
listen, it's coming out sometime this week.
yeah,
I'm gonna try to aim. Well, we're gonna do it, but we're gonna try to aim for it to come out this week. Keep notifications on.
yep.
We appreciate y'all for watching as always, and we'll see y'all next week. Bye.